Is finding love after 50 really possible, or are all the good men and women taken? Tonight's guest, Tom Blake, is a columnist who has written over 1,800 articles on this subject. He's going to tell us some great stories as well as some very practical advice. Please join me. I'm Pat Buttress. Welcome to Orange View. Welcome. Tonight we're talking with Tom Blake and about his new book, How 50 Couples Found Love After 50, which is going to feature 23 love stories from Orange County couples and several other stories from people around the United States and Canada. Tom, when did you start writing about dating after 50, and kind of what prompted you to do that?
Well, I started in 1994. And what prompted it was on Christmas Eve 1993, my wife backed up a U-Haul to the front door, took what furniture and belongings she wanted, and moved out of my life.
Oh, my.
I didn't know about it. So I started to keep notes. And that's how it kind of started. And then when I started to date, I thought it was going to be easy, and it certainly wasn't. I kept a lot more notes. And that was how it all began.
Just kind of gradually from your own experience.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I bet those are some good ones.
Oh, yes.
Do you still write for the Orange County Register in South County?
I do. I write for the community papers down south. I do not write for the Register itself at this time.
But the community inserts that come out like on Thursdays or something?
Yes, in Dana Point and San Juan and San Clemente. And so I believe there are 10, and sometimes they're in and sometimes they're not.
Yeah, they kind of make their own pick and choices on those things, don't they? Can people in Orange receive your weekly newspaper column by email? Is that possible? And if so, how do they do that?
Yes, they can, Pat. If they go on Finding Love After 50, and that's the number 50.com, there's a place where they can sign up for it. And they just put their email address in and their name, and I will automatically include them on that. And it goes out every Friday. Every Friday. By email.
I can't pretend that I don't know about it because I get one every Friday, and
right.
I think it's wonderful reading.
Oh, thank you.
When did you publish your first book?
First book was published 1997, which was 3 years after my wife had pulled that little disappearing act. And
what was it titled?
It was called Middle-Aged and Dating Again, and it was based upon those years of the year that I started. Pardon me?
Those years of experience?
Oh, yes, that I thought were going to be so easy and turned out to be
challenging.
Well, challenging, sure.
It's the dating world had changed. How long had you been married?
That time?
Yeah, that time.
6 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's still 6 years in the world. It changes.
Oh, it's dramatic, and for people who have been married for 30 or 40 years, and all of a sudden they find themselves single and they'd like to have some company, it's terribly challenging. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. How many books have you written?
This is my fourth book.
Okay.
One every 3 years is enough, believe me.
I bet it is. I bet it takes a lot of time to put these together. What are the other two books called?
Well, the Middle-Aged and Dating Again, and then Finding Love After 50, and that's got a subtitle of How to Begin, Where to Go, and What to Do. And that's what it's about for the people who all of a sudden they're single, and what do I do, Coach?
Yes, that's what you are. You're a coach.
Well,
you're a coach. When did you publish How 50 Couples Found Love After 50?
That was published 2 months ago.
Oh.
So it's pretty new, and we're just starting the marketing of it now.
Well, it sure is a great opportunity here. And how long did it take to write, and what were the challenges in the writing? Go ahead and tell us some of the stories. We've got the time.
The challenge of writing it was by using other people's stories. I thought that'd be kind of easy, but it turns out when we have 58 stories in here that everybody wants to change their story. So they send it in, you get the permissions, you kind of get it edited, and then something comes up that they want changed. And when that happens, it takes a lot longer than when you're just doing your own little, own little story. But it took about 2 years from the start when I put it all together, and then you keep pushing the deadline back and pushing the deadline back.
Well, you had some other life-happening things, too.
We did, yes. We did have some other life
And
happenings.
I am very sorry for the loss of your mom. I know that's always
Well,
a hard thing.
I appreciate that. That happened to come right when the book was being released, so we had to put the marketing on hold a bit.
Oh. I want to kind of go back to that story about how you even started doing the column, because I think that's kind of interesting. Weren't you somewhere else when your ex-wife, now ex-wife, did that to you? You weren't even in the area?
Well, I was at my mom's up in Santa Rosa, Northern California, and I tried to call Christmas Eve, and there was no answer. And I thought maybe they were at a neighbor's house or something, and I tried to call Christmas Day, and there was no answer. And I said to my mom, if I don't hear from them the next morning, I'm going to call the police or neighbors and stuff to go over and look. Well, I didn't have to call because my wife called the next morning. My mom and I were having breakfast. And she said, oh, the weather's been cold. I've been busy at work. I moved out, and we're going to the beach. And I went, wait a minute. You moved out? And my mom...
That was kind of like thrown into the middle
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
it was just
sentence.
like, just part of the story, right? And so my mom is sitting there at the breakfast table, and she gets up and starts walking around the dining room table, kicking the chairs. I mean, it was pretty funny, actually, but...
Not at the time.
No,
particularly.
it took me by surprise. And an event like that will definitely get your attention, and that's when I started taking those notes, because I had to try to find some understanding in what had happened and why it happened and why I didn't see it.
Yeah, and what
Turned out to be the greatest favor anybody has ever done for me.
It really gave you a new career. Didn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely. Absolutely.
And one that you've most thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes.
I mean, I at least I get that sense when I read
I love writing, and I got a newspaper gig out of it that I would have never had. And I also learned a good lesson, and I think everybody, as we grow older, we all face adversity. I know you faced it also. And what I think has to happen is we need to look for that little seed of opportunity that tends to grow out of adversity. And we need to see that seed that's meant for us and develop it and grow from it and mature from it. And I believe that in every adversity, there's an opportunity.
I do too. Yeah. I've always felt that way, that you know, no matter what, if you get lemons, you make lemonade. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but it's actually true. There's a positive even to the most negative things in our lives. There just really is. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll be back with some more great stories from Tom, because believe me, he has some really good stories to tell us. So please stay with us.